Hi everyone, this is Keith from Investment Modes. Uh, Welcome to my YouTube channel where I try to share the little bits that I know about investing as well as wealth building, financial planning, in the hopes that this will be able to help you reach your financial goals better. So if you enjoy some of these videos that I've been producing, right, I try to produce some of these videos that it's more difficult to explain in words. And if you like it, do share it with more people so that they can benefit from it. Now today, I am going to talk a topic about goals. When we say goals, right, this can refer to life goals or financial goals. I think they are quite interchangeable, but I think most people they want to satisfy their life goals because that is what they connect with. But most of the time, you need money to satisfy them. So when you go to find someone, we define these as financial goals, but what people want is to actually reach their life goals. I can call this presentation how important is your financial goals or your life goals, but I prefer to call it goals that you can connect with because I think there is a certain problems with this. So let us start off with how I look at these goals things. Uh, Most of y'all would have accumulated some financial assets like what you see on the left side. Investments, probably those starting off, they might not have so much investments, equity in property, they have some cash. And I think eventually they will build up these things. So these are the things that you accumulate over the years. Now, most are working people, and you and your spouse will have your salary coming in, and typically you will spend some, and then you do the prudent thing to actually save. Now there comes a question: why do we accumulate these assets, and why do we, instead of spending everything, we save? And and the question again, save so much for what? Because usually how we look at what we have is that I think a good framing that I saw before is that what we have, right, is actually meant to be spent on the things that we spent on yesterday, which are your debts or what you spend today and what you want to spend in the future. So in order to spend in the future, you got to know like what you need to spend in the future. And if there is nothing much to plan for to actually spend in the future, right? Then actually there's no point to actually save up for so much. So obviously, many of us have something in mind uh, why we want to keep all these assets and save. It's just that some people are able to define better, some not so much. And many of us, we try to do sensible things, like saving for retirement, our children's education. Those are well-informed things to save for because our parents tell us, or that's something quite standard that you can see in the horizon. But what it means is that we need to know what we're saving for, and these are your life goals and financial goals. If you're able to define them right, what is on the horizon, what whether it's short term or long term, right, then you can zoom into them better. And what we usually do in planning for these kind of things is that your resources, which is all the assets the net assets that you have, as well as your spending and whatever that you save from your work income, they should eventually contribute to your life goals or your financial goals. So it will look something like this illustration over here. You can see roughly you can break into 5 batches, like this is one, this is one, this is one, this is one, and this is one. And they are in a lot of part of financial planning is actually reallocating these resources, right, so that you are able to achieve these goals. And And over here, these 5 goals, right, some of them are very near term, like maintaining family, physical health, and sharing experiences. These are like what you will do on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. But of course, there are some longer-term ones, like assisting your children with your educational costs and retirement. These are longer term ones. You want to do the prudent things to actually save for it, because for some reasons you find them meaningful enough to be motivated to put away the money. And another thing why defining goals are important is because eventually you will need to make some trade-offs. So you can picture that this illustration, right? Like all the goals that you wish for in your lifetime, right? It will be represented in this bar over here. So this is how much. And for a lot of us, the resources that we will have in our lifetime, if we aggregate everything, right, it will look something like that. And there will be, for some people, there will be shortfalls. And when there are shortfalls, right, along the way, you have to make trade-offs. Like you can't have such a big retirement, or that your children might not be able to, you have an aspiration to send your children to this university, but because they don't have so much money, you have to find money from somewhere. You have limited resources. Of course, it is also possible that your resources is more than your goals if you really have no idea about your goals. So, but these trade-offs will come in, and if you define these goals better, right, you are able to next time think about this better. So what I can recommend most people is that once you define your goals, right, you make a mental note of how you prioritize your goals. So what you see over here at 1 to 8, right, I think it's a very generic list of goals that I think many people you will go through, or that you will actually save for. And this is a priority, right, that it should be fundamentally sound. So some of these things are like really near term. Make sure that I have enough to eat, make sure that I stay current with my debt payments, make sure my family has enough to eat. So these will come from your expenses, and then it follows by some near term further out goals, such as children's education, owning a residential property without any debts, and retiring. And I'm making some guesses over here. Most parents, they want to they want to prioritize the well-being of their children. So these things, right, like having an enriching experience and assisting their children for their education, right, these are more important compared to their own well-being. Some of y'all might disagree with me, and this is precisely why inside your head, you and your spouse, right, would always have to like talk about this and think about this. Are these things actually more important than this? And having this list, eventually it will help you prioritize. Because one of the questions that I get a lot is that I know it's important for me to invest, but honestly, I'm about to get married, right? There is these things to spend, and most likely after getting married, my resale or my BTO flat will come, and then they need renovations, furnishings, and the children will come. So should I invest or what? How should I think about this? And if you frame like if you frame that you need to identify goals, and then you need to prioritize goals, right? Those things at the top of your priority, you should allocate most of your resources, whether it's what you have today or what from your income, right? They should go most to this. And it's naturally that like if you need a place to live that is kind of sensible, right, this is more important than your retirement next time, and you should allocate more of your resources. But for some people, it's like I'm not sure whether it's illogical or what. They might prefer to them, let's say their financial independence is more important, then power to you. That means that you set aside less for today. You try to make or break, and then you still continue to invest. So these lists do help. Now, next section, I'm gonna share like what happens when you don't define goals that you can connect with. I'm gonna take you through one reader's example, but also try to share my own experience as well, because I think I quite connect with what he's going through. So setting goals can be quite challenging for a lot of us, and this is because, right, we tend to be quite deficient in our personal knowledge and values. Like when we started all of these things, like we're actually like 18 years old, 19 years old, and the goals that we set, right, might be like way off. The reasons why we set them, right, is due to our view about the world at 18, 19 years old, right? And when we proceed to 30 years old, right, some of those things will look quite naive. I think that is natural, but it kind of shows that because we're deficient over here in these personal knowledge and values, right? The goals, we can define the goals, but those goals might not eventually be what we want at a certain phase, like when we're 70 years old and all that. But as we gain more experience, right, we are able to redefine some of these goals happen. So one thing to note is that is quite normal. And also, we also tend to choose a goal that we identify more. But for some reasons, we struggle with certain aspect of those goals. And this is because, like, when it comes to these kind of financial solutions out there, right, they try to bucket a lot of these things, like, let's say, retirement in one, children's education in one, so that it makes it easier to talk around the subjects. But personally, we agree with some of these things, but not in other areas. And because of these two reasons, right, what usually happens is that we define a certain goal, right, that maybe we agree partly with it, some things, but disagree with a lot of other things, right? But when you approach, let's say, Keith for advice, or let's say you go and find a financial planner, right, then they will plan based on these goals. Like, they don't find out more from you, and they will just use a generic template to plan. Oh, like, if you ask Keith, I'm actually quite interested to be financially independent. I'm looking for $5,000 a month in income. I have this. Can I retire? And if I look at you as a young person, right, and based on like some of the presentation that I did in the past about safe withdrawal rates and all those sort of stuff, I will come to you with this number, that you need this money, that these, like, your $5,000, right, has to be really conservative, because I am afraid that that you really need all these $5,000, and it comes up to don't know, 2 to 3 million, and you look at the number and then you're put off already. But actually, you might, like, that is not what you're truly looking for. And because we don't define that goals really well, right, we give you kind of the wrong thing. Another thing is possibly like children's education. It's like, this one might be quite common. Like, someone will come in and say, hey, I want your help to actually plan both myself and my spouse, we study in Australia, and can you plan for provision for a financial goal where I can send my kids to Australia? And if you stop there, right, and then I don't ask any more questions, right, then I will plan, and then it's gonna be a very big number. But sometimes in these kind of conversations, we're able to find out, oh, okay, actually you're okay. Like if no choice, you can actually send your kids to, let's say, a local university, but we want to try to aim for an Australian university. That is what you had in mind, but your communication with me is not that, and that becomes a problem. Now, I actually lifted this from my Telegram group. It's a conversation between myself and some members with one person over here try to blank it out, right? And this is a reaction to this first video that I did on which I talk about crafting an ideal passive investment portfolio for your life goals. It's basically a kind of a thing about the low cost diversified income fund, and he struggles with to answer certain questions, and he says it's due to his lack of personal development. So the question is, the first one is what do you plan to do with your money, or what is the savings target? And he struggles with it because he don't know what to do with his money, and is retiring comfortably considered a good goal to have. So this is quite a generic goal, but he struggles to identify with it, and that spawns some further questions. So what's not shown over here is that as we dig further, then we realize that what he really identifies with is that there is this state of minimum lifestyle, right, that he wants to have in case he cannot work, right, and he wants to be able to secure it for a long time. So in a certain way, he's not actually looking to retire, but yet he has this fear that if something happens to him, he will not be able to he won't have enough to eat to do this kind of stuff and all. But he struggles to actually identify with it. And eventually, as I continue this conversation, right, I try to help him define the goals, because it's quite similar to how I feel most of the time. Because like while I choose to actually pursue financial independence, understand all these things, but eventually I also realized that what I actually want to actually secure more is to make sure that there's a certain essential lifestyle that I don't want to compromise, and that if I am able to secure just that, right, then I will find that to be very fulfilling already. And when I try to define that better, then you realize that, oh yeah, it's closer to that. And hopefully that is motivating enough, because currently he don't see the motivation to actually invest because of his risk averse nature. But if it's something that he can identify with better, and that might be motivating enough for him to actually invest. So this is usually a little bit of what I described. Many people, they gravitate towards this financial independence because they really don't like their job, and what they need is to actually secure an income so that they do not have to work again. But for a lot of people, what they had in mind is that they need to secure their lifestyle today, which includes, let's say, your basic essential spending as well as your discretionary spending, and probably some buffer. And if you come to give to ask like how much you need, right, and I see that you're a young person, that we should plan for 50 years, and to be conservative about it, let's say I follow my previous video, which I will link below, on the safe withdrawal rate, right? This will come out to a mammoth sum of money, and it's going to take a very long time. Now, but I also have this philosophy that a lot of people, they are not looking for something like that. They chase for this one. They define this as a goal because it's the closest thing that signifies what they actually want. But what they actually want most of the time is basic financial security. There's a certain set of basic expenses, right, that if they conservatively, they are able to secure, right, not even 50 years, probably for 10 years, right, so that uh, that if let's say they don't like their job, they want to pivot to another job, right? It gives them enough runway to actually kickstart another career. And if this is smaller, this is shorter, right? The sum of money you actually need is actually much more manageable, and you can secure it faster. Even better, this is shorter lah, because you can't see it. This is long, this is short. It's covered by my face. So would you be in the same situation? That's a good question to ask. For myself personally, right? Like I started off planning because this seems to be the shiny objects that is out there. Retirement, full retirement, covering everything. But it's one podcast that I listened to between these two ladies, and then they just keep talking, and then I realized that it may be a problem that a lot of people face, because they say, hey, I'm 20 something years old, but if you ask me like what's my goal, right, I really have no idea. But I thought it's a prudent thing, so I put away money, lor. But in a certain sense, putting away money, right, for many people, right, it's to actually have some form of security, and this is what I think most of the people are looking for. So eventually, I pivot to, I understand myself better. I redefine the goals, but of course, due to my conservative nature and where my financial standing is, I think it's possible to actually secure a more perpetual income for this. So I work out how much is this, and I think I identify with this better, and I feel much greater sense of ease as well. Okay, so if you manage to understand what you really want clearer, you can reallocate your resources, financial resources. So when we plan for these kind of things, right, it's not like you start off with an initial plan and then you just follow it. You'll definitely face some of these like frictions along the way, and perhaps you're wondering, can I really review and reallocate resources? The answer is yes. This is a very natural thing. So you can imagine, let's say I started somewhere, and then perhaps at 35 years old, then probably even, I would say even like 37 years old or what, when I hear that podcast, and I realize, oh, okay, I think that is closer to what I'm looking for. So I review my own situation and I reallocate the resources accordingly. So this is where you see like why it's important to have goals that you can connect with, and if not, right, you're trying to go after a goal that maybe at the end of the day, then you realize that, well, after you save so much money, you waste so much time, but eventually you seem to still prefer to actually like go to work. Okay, so here are some tips to help you craft your financial goals that you can connect with better. Now, what is actually a desirable goal, right? Sometimes we confuse the means to actually get there as a goal. And I actually taken this from the Rational Reminder podcast about goal setting. And what they say is that desirable goals are actually like statements of desirable state, but not the means to get there. So there's one example over here to bring the point across. So saving up a $10,000 emergency funds, right, it's very quantitative, but saving up this is actually a means, but not a goal itself. And if we really want to talk about what's a desirable state, right, the more appropriate desirable state about this, right, is actually to feel secure lah. Like why do we need an emergency fund? Like if you ask a person, I just want to feel secure. Like, why do you put away so much money? You don't consider whether it's emergency fund or not. But people felt that, there's a survey done, people felt that if let's say they have so much cash, right, they will feel secure. So the important thing that you connect with better is actually the state, the state, not actually the means. Now, I also took this from that podcast itself, right, they actually came out with the rational reminder. They actually came out with a paper. So what they did is that they survey their audience as well as the public, right? And this is a bias group that listens to their podcast, right? They understand all these things about happiness and how all these things add together. That money is not really always the end state. There is something more than that. And for these people, right, they try to go through this very systematic process, which they scientifically felt that is good, and then they identify these goals. There's about 28 of them over here, right? Over here and over here, right? And you can see the number of I think participants. This list is ordered based on like what they identify with the most, and it's quite an interesting list because you can see that the top one is being financially independent. Work is optional. It's the way that they define it, right? And if you do not know like what goals to actually aim for, it's good to actually like take note of these, and then go through them and then see which one you can identify with better. And you realize that a lot of those that is on the top right, they are less about financial stuff. Like it's something that you can do, you can change by reallocating some of your spending resources. So like affording travel, leisure time, and experience with families. This is actually big for them. Maintaining physical health through sleep, diet, and exercise. Of course, being financially independent helps, but it may be something that you can try to do a little bit to do today. So I find that this is a very good list. Do take a look at them, and it's also quite interesting whether do you kind of like agree with the consensus. Now there is also a list that I went to Reddit to see whether what are some of the interesting things that I can find out, and these are the kind of the reasons why people choose to pursue financial independence, right? Pursue financial independence, but it's not usually defined in that way. So it's a bit long, but you can see this is the kind of the highest voted, 2,300, and basically it's saying they are lazy, they hate working, they have to bother with colleagues and these kind of evaluations. These are not their cup of tea, right? But neither is living on the street. So if they have the means, they are trying to buy their freedom. And basically, it's they have the resources and they really don't like working. And then this is what they want to do. 2,300 people voted for it. You have some interesting thing like this one is not so much, but I find it interesting that people want to amass so much wealth such that none of their future family members will have to work for 3 to 4 generations. Very lofty goals, but 80 people seems to identify with it. Probably they have the resources to really accumulate wealth. Okay, I like number 3 where it says that when I wake up and it's raining, I want to be able to lie there and listen to the rain. Maybe go out and on the porch and watch the rain. So notice that this is like a desirable state. It's not like talking about what quantitative thing, what how much money and all. They just want to be able to, like, a lot of times if let's say it's raining, we felt like sleeping in, but we cannot because we have work commitments. Like our boss will have a problem with us if we don't go in. And you can see that a lot of people identify with this. So with this change after COVID, whether your situation, can you do something like that? I don't know. And you can run through some of them are quite interesting, but basically they describe like what they desire most. And yeah, you can take a look at it. Now, some of the major takeaways is that it's important to think about what we want to do with life and what we're saving for. And in a certain sense, if we don't define our goals better, right, then we might not be saving for what we really want. We're wasting our time and resources. And some of the well-paying ones, right, they kept in their job, they kept in this job that they really don't like so much, but because they felt that they need to save for such a big goal, if not, it's a big opportunity cost. But if you understand some of these things better, maybe you can leave your job earlier to actually move to a domain that you actually like. Yeah. So this is why that is important. Do your best to define your life and financial goals well. And since I think those two lists are pretty good, so you can use them to actually to help you as a trigger list to define your goals better. Okay, so I come to the end of my presentation. Hopefully, this is less numbery, but I felt that this is important. It is a question that uh, we my colleagues back in Provident as client advisors ask a lot. It's like we reiterate a lot, even at a certain time where usually the people they will bring up say, hey, I have these investments that have been stuck for a long while, right? Uh, what do you think? Should I sell or not? And a lot of times we will try to bring them back to say, hey, when you invest in this, like what do you have in mind? Like was these few investment meant for what, your children's education or something else? And a lot of people will say, hey, I have no idea. Then it is a problem, and it's we need to know a certain goal so that we know what's your time horizon, and to see whether it makes sense to stay in that investments to work towards it. And without, we kept going back because without goals are the things that you connect with. And if you don't have any ideas, all these things, right, they are eventually you will amass a lot of these kind of things, and you'll be pretty lost lah. You'll have a lot of money lah, but eventually you will come to a point where you will struggle mentally with it. That's what we see happen to quite a fair bit of people. Okay, so hopefully if you find this video useful and all, do let me know if you have any comments about it, about goal setting or some of these things. Even if like I just invest don't have to care about these goals thing, then fair enough. I'll see whether we can have a conversation about this. And if you like this video, do please click the thumbs up and subscribe and tell more people about it. Okay, see you in the next video.